back on another episode of Sports Slice, and this episode is a little bit different as I not only have one guest, but two guests this week. So we're going to go right into my favorite part of Sports Slice with the Slice of Unbelievable. Now, this week, everybody knows I am a diehard Philly sports fan. So the 76ers won the series this weekend against Boston, forced a Game 7, and actually won 109-100. Now, the Sixers were down 3-1 in the series. Nobody, even myself, doubted the 76ers. Nobody thought they were going to win. But you're down 13 Game 5 against Boston and on the road. And the 76ers decided, you know what? We're going to turn into the team that we were down the stretch. Ultimately came back, beat Boston, won Game 6, forced a Game 7, won Game 7 on Saturday. And here the 76ers will be facing off against the Knicks in round 2. But the 76ers all time were 0-18, down 3-1 in the playoffs. And Boston was 32-0. The 76ers had not beaten Boston in the playoffs since 1982. Snapping 6 consecutive losses in the playoffs against them. So, again, this week, the shout-out has to go to the Philadelphia 76ers. Coming up next on Sports Slice, I'm going to be joined by international icon, pro hooper, and coach Aida Bakhos to discuss all things about the WNBA as well as her unique career playing internationally as well as playing at Lamar University. So we are back on another episode of Sports Slice, and I am joined by international icon, pro hooper, and now coach Aida Bakhos. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be on your podcast.
I mean, you are an absolute legend. Let's just get that started. And you kind of carved out a cool little area in the social media world with your TikTok and your Instagram following. And the question, I got to start this off. You're a big shoe person. Do you
Yes.
have a specific pair of shoes that's your favorite?
I think I like the Jordan 1 High Chicago's because there's a
Love
lot
that.
of history behind it. And I like the red color and black. They go with everything. I try not
Yep.
to wear them as much, but the more you wear them, the cooler they look, I think.
That's so fair. I'm right there with you. I absolutely love shoes. I actually just for this made sure to bring these in here. I just got these actually right before Easter, but it's the Easter Air Force One
Ah,
edition that Nike released.
nice. I don't have
So
those.
yeah, they're pretty sweet. But your collection, I mean, you post it on Instagram every once in a while and whatnot, but like your collection is unreal.
Thank you.
Um, so just want to start with that. But now kind of get into the fun questions and whatnot. So like I said, you are an international icon. You're originally from Lebanon. What
Yes,
was
sir.
sports like? And what was like your childhood and growing up in sports like in Lebanon?
Um, my first sport was soccer or football, as we say overseas, but I played it till like I was 12 because my dad was a professional football player. And I grew up playing it. And my parents were like, you have to choose different sports. Women don't play soccer overseas. So I just grabbed a basketball and I started shooting, and I was actually good at it. Nobody taught me fundamentals. Nobody taught me how to shoot. I would just play with my cousin under the house, and I was just a very good athlete. Like I can jump, I can run. And that's how it started. Growing up in Lebanon, especially for women back in the day, sports wasn't as big as it is now, especially soccer or basketball for women. Now it grew. Basketball is like the number one sports in Lebanon for women and guys. We make it to the World Cup, Asia, so it's huge. But yes, I had back in the days, I had to switch sports to be able to play. Actually, I have a funny story. I wanted to play soccer so bad that I shaved all my hair and I changed my name, like actually something you would see on a movie, and I acted like I was a boy. So, but my teammates
Really?
knew I was a girl. And then once I got older, around 14, my parents were like, you can't keep doing that. Like people are not stupid.
Right. Right. They're catching on real quick.
Yes. So I switched to basketball, and then I had saw the opportunities to come to the States and pursue my dream here.
Hmm. Was there a specific maybe athlete or sporting moment maybe in your childhood that really like inspired you? I know you said that your dad was a professional soccer player or football player. Um, was there somebody that you really looked up to growing up?
When I was in Lebanon, there was a athlete. Her name was Salpi. She was Lebanese Armenian. She was one of the best players I've ever seen play basketball, and she was actually drafted to go play for Detroit. But the team in Lebanon didn't release her. So I grew up watching her. I wanted to shoot like her. I would skip school so she can train me and play basketball. And that's how it started from her. And then when I moved to the States, I fell in love with Diana Taurasi. And of course, Kobe Bryant is like my role model. But when it comes to like female basketball, Diana Taurasi is and still like my number one role model when it comes to
Hmm.
basketball.
That's awesome. I think she's got to be on the Mount Rushmore of like most influential athletes, regardless of sports.
I agree.
Um, so you said that you and your family moved to the U.S. when you were growing up. What was the biggest difference you saw in the U.S. in the sports world?
Actually, I moved alone. I'm not sure
Oh,
if
really?
you knew that. I moved alone. My parents supported me. I went to Michael Jordan basketball camp, and he was like, "You're so good. You have to move here." And I went back to Lebanon, and I'm like, "Mom, Michael Jordan told me I'm good. I need to move." And I went online. I found a family, host family in Midland, Texas, and my parents supported me. Usually, especially in the Middle East, people think people are like closed-minded, but my parents did the research. I moved to Midland, and I lived with a family here. The difference really was how much we trained here. Like now I look back at it and I wished I started basketball at a very young age in the States. That's because my whole life was basketball. So in Lebanon, I didn't have the opportunity to practice and when I did, I had to pay to go to the gym. Over here in high school or even middle school, everything's available for you. You have an outdoor basketball court where you can go shoot, play pickup games. In Lebanon, we never had that. So over here, it was just like the different speed of the game, how athletic people are, how many hours they put into working out and practicing. Everything changed, honestly, but to the better, of course, to the best.
Right. It's almost like growing up, and I mean, I played football, and so like growing up, athletics is almost like a full-time job for kids, it seems like. Um,
It is, especially in college. When I went
right.
to college, I went to Lamar University on a scholarship, and it was literally a full-time job. Even nowadays, like in middle school and high school, parents are putting so much effort and money into their kids that they send them to like schools that specializes in sports at a young age because they see potential and then they see money and now with the NIL deals and all that. So it's more really about business as well, not just like an everyday full-time job, but which is good. Especially I wish we had that during my career because us women as female athlete it's so hard for us to play in the WNBA where the salary is not as big, which now it's getting better. So the NIL deal is actually helping us. We don't have to go back overseas like I did. I have to go overseas every year, like 8 to 9 months out of the year, just to be able to make some money. So that's a good positive and negative thing, I guess, with everything
Right.
going on now.
Absolutely. And I know you touched on it too. Is like you go and look at some of the biggest names in the WNBA, like a Diana Taurasi, and you go and look at
Yeah,
her career, and she's playing in the WNBA, and then going overseas to whether it's Russia or a different country and playing in a league, and there's really no time off for your body to fully recover. So in that standpoint, it's great that with this new CBA with the WNBA, these athletes that are worth a lot more than what they were getting paid $60,000 last year.
yeah,
Like now we're seeing these bigger contracts, which, just goes hand in hand with the popularity of the league too, is insane right now, which is awesome. And it's only gonna, exponentially increase over time.
I
But I want to
agree.
jump back to I know we talked you mentioned that you played at Lamar. What was something that through those years really stuck with you? It could be like a coach's quote or, just like the work ethic of playing Division 1 basketball or anything like that.
Actually, I had two coaches. One of them that recruited me to go to Lamar, and then my other coach, he came my senior year, Larry Tidwell. And actually, what stuck with me was recently he sent me a message out of nowhere. He told me from all my years of coaching, he's a huge coach. He said, "You and Adrian Ross were the two hardest women I ever coached in my whole career." And I graduated college in 2008. So he still remembers like
Hmm.
all my work ethic, the difference I've done to that program, and the difference I did, I guess, for him. So this is actually, I'm not going to talk about like winning, hitting shots or whatever. This is part of the game. But when you make a difference that a coach can notice, this is like, this means a lot to me. That means I did what I needed to do.
Right. And, you know, everybody always talks about how you want to be remembered. And I think people most associate that with like, oh, I want to be the person that, had all the game winners and all that kind of stuff. But through it all, I think the lasting impression that you leave on the place that you're at, as well as your teammates and coaches, I think that's the most important part of that.
I want to be remembered as a great role model, especially
Yeah.
for the Lebanese female athlete, not just basketball, because they never have the opportunities that we do have in the States. So I want to be remembered as a great role model for them and help them they realize that they can achieve their dreams like I did.
Right. And I think you've done a very good job at that too. And I think
Thank you.
social media has also kind of opened up avenues too of like, hey, like you have an ability to spread your message just by recording on your phone for, a minute of like, hey, like this is possible. So I think that's a unique thing about, the world that we're in right now too. And so you've had one of the more interesting, playing careers because you graduate in 2008 and then while, you're kind of like the beginning stages of your, playing career after college, you actually made the decision to take time off of basketball from 2011 to 2019 to serve in the US Army. What went behind that decision?
Um, well, since I was little, I always wanted to join the military, but I never thought it would be the United States because I never thought I would be living here. I feel like United States gave a lot to me, and I felt like this is my way of paying back and giving back, and it's something I always wanted to do. It was pretty. I just called my parents and I was like, I'm joining the military. Once I got in, they're like, wait, what? What happened? I said, I'm joining the military. I'm graduating and just make sure you're at graduation. And that's what happened. And I think this was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my career. The only thing that was hard was during this time, I missed playing basketball so much. So I was stationed in New York. So I had to talk to my unit about doing both at the same time. So my unit in New York, I was lucky enough to be able to fly from New York to Lebanon or New York to Europe, wherever I was playing like twice a month to play and then report to my unit. So for these 8 years, I was doing both at the same time, which was very difficult for me, but I was able to get it done.
That's awesome. And it's got to be so hard too, because, basketball in particular is such a team oriented sport. And like you have to have those connections with your teammates. So you being away, had to, be a challenging in the fact of like you're not building the, relationship per se with your fellow teammates and whatnot.
I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it was difficult because I would be gone for a couple of weeks and then I would come back and I would start, and then they would think it was unfair for me to be gone for so long and then start. And I get it now because I'm coaching, so I don't do it to my players. Um, but I mean, I traveled my whole life, so I was able to get along with everybody, people from different culture, different religion, different languages. So that helped a lot. And when you play sports, your goal is to win, regardless if you want to be the star or not. The coach is going to do what's best for you, what's best for the team, and he will always be fair, honestly. I've had the best coaches my whole career. I never had issues with none of the coaches I had.
Right. And so, you've kind of touched on it too. You've had the opportunity to play really all over the world. Um, Germany, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. I saw recently you were playing, I think it was 3-on-3 tournament in
World
Dubai.
Cup. Dubai.
Yeah.
Yes.
What has been the most unique experience playing internationally?
Getting to see different style of play. Like in the States, everybody's athletic, everybody can jump. Overseas, I feel like they're more fundamental, more of shooters, more run the play. Overseas, it's more like you create for yourself. So it was the different technique of coaches because I got a chance to play for Lebanese coaches, American, Serbian, Greek. So I learned something different from every coach and every country I played for. So that was the cool part because now I'm able to adapt to any style of play, European or American style of play, and I can teach the younger generation about different style of play.
Mhm. I think we see that style of play in the NBA now with
Yes.
guys like Luca, who are, you know,
Hmm.
superstars of like, hey, Luca is a completely different player than a LeBron James. Like they are two, like they're
Yes.
both great, but they are nothing alike.
Different.
Um, so that's super fascinating. And what do you have a favorite country that you've ever played in?
I like Lebanon a lot, maybe because I left Lebanon at my peak where I was supposed to be like giving so much to Lebanon. It's just the fans there are amazing. And plus, it makes it easier when you understand the language. The fans there are crazy, like either good, they love you, or they hate you. And it's always good to play for your country, regardless what team you're playing for. But the Lebanese fans are amazing, and the crowd is just nice. I like to play for the crowd. So,
100%. It's
yeah,
always
it's
more fun
fun.
when the crowd's, cheering with you and cheering on your side. And there's
Of
something
course.
about playing at home that is like just it's really a deciding factor in sports, really. Like,
True.
especially when you're playing for your
Yes,
home country.
yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I missed out on playing in Lebanon from maybe 2002 till 2020 or 19. So I didn't get to play like when I was in my 20s at my key peak. So I missed all that. So when I came back to Lebanon, I was in my 30s or maybe 29, 28. I got that chance to play. And I came back. My style of play was totally different because I grew up playing here. So I felt like I was quicker, more athletic, different. But when time passed by, you start adapting and you start playing more their style of play.
Right. What would you say? Now, you've played for teams, like I said, all over the world, the Lebanese national team. What would you say would be your highlight of your entire athletic playing career?
Oh, this is
That's a tough one.
difficult. I have two actually. One of them winning my first championship in Lebanon for the Armenian team. I remember a game, I stole the ball from their best player, 3 seconds left. I pass it to my teammate and she goes for a layup, and we were the underdogs. And then we ended up winning the finals 4-2, and two of our starters were injured, and they were supposed to beat us by like 20. And the whole season we lost to them by like 30 points. So that game, I remember it so well. And then maybe 3 years ago with the national team, we won by a buzzer beater against Chinese Taipei that kept us qualifying for the World Cup. And then in the Division A of the championship, Asia Championship. Those two were amazing memories.
That's amazing. And then another interesting one here. You wear the number 33. Is there
Yes.
any sort of importance behind the number or a unique story behind why you wear 33?
I used to wear 13 my whole life. And then when I went to that team in Lebanon, one of the players wore 13, so I didn't want to take it away from her. But I wear 33 because one of my teammates in the States, Adrian Ross, the one I told you Coach Tidwell said, me and her, she was my role model. Also, like I looked up to her playing here in Midland. We played same AAU team. Then she went to Hop. She played in the WNBA. She's huge. She wore 33, and me watching her play, I was like, oh, I want to be like her. And I actually got to play with her again in Lebanon because she was one of the imports that came to Lebanon. She wore number 33. And then in the Bible, 33 has a lot of meaning when it comes to like God and stuff like that. And I also like Scottie Pippen. So
Love it. I was waiting. I was like, I wonder if there's like a
it has a
Scottie
lot of
Pippen
meanings.
connection here. There it is. That's awesome. And so, you've kind of touched on it throughout this interview of, the WNBA. You're a big WNBA fan. What, with the season kicking off here later this upcoming week on Friday, what are you most excited about with this season?
I'm excited to see who's going to get Rookie of the Year. Honestly, it's going to be very tough this year. The rookies are really good. So I'm excited to see that. Uh, the rookies are just vets, really. If you think about it now, their level of play is so high that you can't even call them rookies anymore because they are taking over the game. And you would see the vets are trying to adjust to them now instead of them adjusting to the vets.
Yeah, we're seeing a big shift these past couple years of, the game's always evolving. And I think you see that in all sports, but really in the WNBA and women's basketball in particular is like the game now is completely different than what it was 4 years ago, right?
True.
Do you have a rookie that you think is going to win Rookie of the Year?
I want to, I think Olivia.
Olivia. Okay. I like
Who do
it.
you think?
Oh,
AZ? I like AZ a lot,
I
but I
I'm
just
kind of going
feel
AZ just
you
because the
are.
connection of her and Paige, like you've got a natural connection between old college teammates, which like we've talked about it, like having that connection and you're starting with that connection right away is
True,
massive, I feel like.
true.
Um, but yeah, probably AZ. Who do you think's going to win championship this year?
Aces.
The Aces. They got the best player in the world.
True. And they have a great coach and their chemistry, and they have a great coach. I hope somebody else wins. Well, I don't know. I want everyone to win. I have like different players that I like on each team that I don't know who to root for, but I feel the aces are always stable.
100%. And it seems like even when they make off-season trades or, releases, like there's always somebody that they bring in that just like steps up. And like I
Mhm.
think of like, and I know she's no longer on the team, but Kate Martin, I mean, a couple years ago, she kind of filled a important role as a rotational player, and now she's done well for herself with the Valkyrie. Um, but is there so growing up, you lived in, excuse me, you grew up in a fun time frame with the WNBA of like the league's growing, right? It's still back then it was like in its super early infancy stage. Was there a player in particular that you really looked up to in the WNBA?
Oh, Diana Taurasi. Easy.
Yep.
I think she's the GOAT. I think she's still the best player. Her attitude on the court, she's just fierce and she's a winner and she gets it done.
Mhm. That's awesome. Well, like I said, I'm super excited for the WNBA season to be starting up here, but I've got one last question for you, and this could be a tough one.
Okay.
If you could give one single piece of advice to the next generation of athletes, what would it be?
I'm gonna talk speaking out of experience.
Mhm.
I wish I had a mentor growing up. I would have made different decisions in my career, but my family was far away from me, so I didn't have a mentor to tell me to make the best decisions. So I had to do everything on my own. Listen to your parents, they always want the best for you. Keep your circle small and keep training. Just when you think you're tired and practice is over, stay in the gym because somebody else is working just as hard as you are behind closed doors. So stay focused, keep training, and listen to your parents. They know they want the best for you.
Always listen to your parents. That's what I've found too is
Yeah,
your parents, they're trying to lead you in the right way.
I agree.
But I appreciate you so much coming on here. And thank you again. You're absolutely amazing.
Thank you. That was so much fun. And thank you for having me.
Coming up next, I'm joined by two-time national champion at Stanford, former WNBA player, and mental performance coach Val Whiting. So we're going to get right into it. So you were a standout basketball player in Delaware, correct? In high school?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What was the start of your playing days in high school? Like, did you always know growing up that you wanted to play basketball?
No, not at all. Actually, when I was in seventh grade, I tried out to be a cheerleader. I didn't play any sports. I had no exposure to sports at all. My dad did like pee wee football, but I was a cheerleader for his pee wee football team. And ironically, both my parents played basketball, but they never pushed the sport on me. So in 7th grade, I got cut from the cheerleading squad. I tried out, got cut, and my math teacher asked me to come out for the basketball team, and that's how I got started. It was
Really?
pretty much by accident. Yeah, I was. That was my first time playing any kind of organized sport. I was horrible at the sport. I used to score for the wrong basket, for shoot the wrong basket when we switched at halftime, and it was just confusing to me, and I honestly hated it. I don't even know why I stuck with it. Now that I think about it, most kids today will just quit if they're that
Right?
bad.
Right? Yeah, and you, like you said, you had a really incredible high school career, and then going into college. How was the recruiting process for you going from high school, and then obviously you end up at Stanford? How was that recruiting process?
They saw me actually by accident. My dad was really good about putting me in situations to get my butt kicked. So he signed me up for a USA basketball tryout. And back then, you can just show up. You just pay the fee. You can show up on at Colorado Springs, Colorado, and try out for a USA basketball team. And
Right.
had just really started playing. I may have been 13 or 14, and there were legends there, legends in the game that are in the Hall of Fame now were there, like Shaw Miller and Cynthia Cooper. They were there, and I'm just out of not even barely in high school, barely know how to play, and I'm there getting my butt kicked. And so when you go to trials like that and you get a number on your jersey, not your name, you get a number. And if you make it to the next round, they put a sheet up and they put your number up there. And I looked at the number and it wasn't there. And I started crying, which I don't know why, because I really wasn't good enough to be there. And apparently Tar Vanderveer saw me upset about not making the team and saw that I was competitive. And then she also noted
Right.
how fast I backpedaled. So I always tell players that you never know who's watching and what they're watching. So always do your thing, be yourself, do your thing when you're out there and carry yourself the right way. So that's how Stanford first saw me.
I think that's a great piece of advice. Also, is like you don't know who's out there that's paying attention to maybe things that you as an athlete or maybe it's a parent are completely overlooking. Um, but the 1990 year for you was big. You're at Stanford. You're a freshman. You win a national championship as a freshman. That's unbelievable. And you were also on the 1990 USA team for the US Olympic Festival, correct?
Yeah,
Yep.
they don't do that anymore. So I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you know familiar with what it is, but
Yep.
back then, if you were under, I think 20 years old or 21, there was a north south. It was part of the USA. There's a north, south, east, west, and you would go and try out in your region. And then I made the west team. And then we would
Mm-hmm.
go to Olympic Festival on the north, south, east, west. Even other sports, we're all competing against each other. I was there, and actually Shaq was there for the South. So he was on Olympic Festival team that year as well, but for the South, because he was at
Right.
LSU. So they don't do that anymore. I think it's really cool. Wish they would, but it's a great experience to get like the Olympic feeling, even though you're not in the Olympics.
Right. Was there a moment while you were in the Olympic Festival where you truly thought, "Hey, I belong playing at this high level. Like I am." I know how you said that you went from, I don't really like playing basketball or whatever the case may be. To was there a moment there where you're like, "This is me. This is what I want to do. That I belong."
I cannot remember. All I remember is that it was in, wait, no. One year was in Oklahoma and we had what's that country music group that sings Elvira or Elmira? There's something boys. I just remember they were there and it was like a big deal. It was in Oklahoma, but I don't remember what I was thinking when I was at the Olympic Festival.
Hmm.
Um, I was mainly happy to be the team, happy to be playing. But when you go to school like
Right.
Stanford, you win a national championship, you really just get 1 week off, right? So you're honestly, the championship is like it's forgotten and you're on to the next championship. So my mind was probably
Right.
thinking about what's going to happen next year at Stanford. Can we repeat?
Right. What do you think during those years that you were at Stanford? What made those Stanford teams so different?
What made those teams different is that the the best players were always the hardest workers. So when I was a freshman, we had Jennifer Azzi, who was, I think she was player of the year, but she was probably in Sonia Henning, which most people probably don't know, but she's probably the best point guard I've ever played with. Um, those two players were always winning sprints, always first to practice, last to leave. So they showed me what it was, what work ethic was like, and what I should aspire to be. So, and when I became the best player on the team, I wanted to be. I led that example as well, led by example as well. So that's what I feel made the teams different. The work ethic by the best players. Also, we were all bought into one purpose.
How did Coach Vanderveer bring out the best of her athletes, do you think?
One thing about Coach Tar is that she coached each player individually. So if one player responded better to getting yelled at, that's how she coached that player. If another player responded better to being
Right.
taken aside and spoken to, that's how she coached that player. So she tailored her style to the kind of player.
Yeah, I think that's important to have too. And I think you look at some of the best coaches in not only basketball, but just in sports in general, is they have that ability to say, hey, you coach everybody fairly, but you can coach everybody differently to, you know, some people don't like being yelled at. Some people like to be, positively reinforced. And like I think the best coaches are able to change their coaching style for the athletes that they have. Um, and so after your days playing at Stanford, you actually had the opportunity to go to medical school, but instead you decided to keep playing basketball, and you ended up playing in Italy and Brazil. What went into that decision?
Well, I deferred admissions to play overseas for 2 years. And so I played in Italy and a little bit in Israel and then Brazil. And what I was supposed to do was go back to medical school. I got into UCSF, University of California at San Francisco. And so that plan changed because women's basketball came to the United States. So that's why I didn't go back to school.
So during this same time frame, you go play Italy, Brazil, you come back to the US, and you were actually recruited by the San Jose Lasers. And for those that are listening that don't know who they were actually in the American Basketball League. In 1996, your rookie year, you dominated, absolutely lit up the stat sheet, and then you were traded to a team in Seattle. And following that 1997 season, the ABL folded. How difficult was that for you as an athlete? Or was it not really too difficult because you kind of had an idea that you were going to go to the WNBA following?
It was difficult first financially because they paid us six figures when I was in the ABL. But the hard part was
Yep.
not knowing where I was going to go and having teams tell me I was going to get drafted and kind of being stressed of where my career was going to be. Also, I knew I was going to make less money in the WNBA, so that was a stress because I had just bought a house, on my ABL salary. And so
Yep.
financially, I was stressed as well. But yeah, so I ended up getting drafted in 99 in the second round, maybe 12th or 13th overall, I can't remember, and to the Detroit Shock.
And so you ended up playing 3 years in the WNBA, one with Detroit, two with Minnesota. Was there a moment in your WNBA playing career that you'll always remember to the end of time? It could be a story that nobody knows about, could be, something as simple as a conversation that you had with a teammate or a coach.
I think the one, I guess it's kind of funny. When I played for Detroit, I had a personal heckler that was a Detroit fan, but she would only heckle me. And she would yell, "Whiting,
Really?
you suck, you stink, get off the court." Like, and she was right behind the bench, like the loudest mouth you can imagine. I'm hearing her above the 10,000 fans we have in the building. So, yeah, I would never forget her.
That's insane. I couldn't imagine somebody just going out and spending their own money just to heckle somebody. Like, that's just absolutely insane to me, actually. Your WNBA career was unique from the standpoint of in 2000, while you're still after 1 year playing with Detroit, you actually took the year off for mental health reasons before returning in 2001 with the Minnesota Lynx. What was the moment you realized you needed to take a step back and put your mental health first?
Um, well, I struggled with my mental health during the 99 season. I was on and off the injured reserve when I played for Detroit. And then in the off season, when it was time to report again, I couldn't see myself playing basketball. It was the oddest thing. I didn't look forward to it. The game that normally brings me joy was making me sad. And I said, I can't do this. I got to take a step back.
And that year that you took the step back, what did that year teach you about yourself outside of basketball?
Oh, great question. It taught me that my identity was based on myself as a basketball player, which is obviously not healthy. I also went on antidepressants when I was in that time and actually felt better, although I didn't do the work needed, like therapy and identity work. And so came back to Minnesota, even though I thought I felt better, I really wasn't better. And I actually had just had a baby too, and got married, had a baby. A lot
Mhm.
of stuff happened.
Yeah, no doubt. And for people that don't know, May is actually Mental Health Awareness Month. And so, I think athletes are that unique group that people kind of overlook the whole mental health matter because, they see that some of these athletes, specifically talking about maybe the NFL or NBA are making 20, $30 million a year. Like it doesn't matter. But it does. And so how different was the conversation about mental health back then when you were playing than compared to what you think maybe athletes experience now? Or do you think it's similar?
I think it's a hybrid of now and what
Mhm.
I went through then. People now are still like, what do you have to be depressed about? Get over it. You're making all this money. Even with Simone Biles, what she went through, people were so cruel.
Right.
When I took my season off, I didn't tell anybody why I took a season off. They just put in the paper personal reasons. And so now I was embarrassed to even come forth and say anything. I didn't even talk about it until 2020. I did a TikTok about it, that I was playing my whole basketball career with undiagnosed um, bipolar depression. And that was the only time I ever said, and the first time I ever said anything about it, so many years later. So I think athletes now are more open about any mental health challenges they have, but I still think people are still not accepting, and I'm sure there are athletes out there suffering in silence, not saying anything.
Right. And I think we're seeing, and I think this is a good shift of, I think more teams and leagues themselves are starting to realize, hey, like there's a problem that for so long was never talked about. And I think you're starting to now see some teams actually invest more into having mental health coaches and like opening that conversation and having that line for athletes to, if they have some sort of issue going on, like there's somebody for them to talk to, which I think is super important. And now it seems like it's more of the the outside that's still, I think there's a lot of people that are still not fully understanding of like, hey, these are all humans, right? Yeah, sure, they're great athletes, all that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, they're a human just like you and I. And I think that's something that gets lost in the translation at times. Um, and so, what would you say to an athlete right now who's struggling but feels like they can't step away from their sport, whether it's a high schooler, uh, a collegiate athlete, or even a professional?
I would tell them that, first of all, maybe look up the symptoms of what you're taking. There are a lot of free resources out there. You can take a survey and see if you have um, certain symptoms of depression or anxiety or bipolar that can help you get some self-awareness, and then talk to somebody who's close to you that you trust. Or if you don't have somebody you don't trust, you talk to your doctor, as well as get a referral to a mental health professional. And if you feel like you're in crisis, you can always dial 988 in the crisis hotline.
Kind of jumping back into, your own personal career, when you came back to playing basketball in the WNBA, did you feel the same, or did you see not only the game but everything completely different?
When I came back to the everything was different for me because I was a new mom. So I had a little person that I was responsible for. I was married, so that was new, and but I also saw the game differently, meaning I put a lot of pressure on myself to be a certain player, even though I had just had a baby 8 weeks ago and I had to go to training camp in May, and I had my son in March. So I actually put a lot of pressure on myself and didn't know how to not be a perfectionist and not overanalyze every single thing I did. So I saw the game, I guess, in a way that was more harsh and not as fun as it was before.
Right. And then now, since, post playing days, now, as talked about before, you're working as a mental performance coach, right? So tell us a little bit more about like what you're doing and how you're helping athletes of all ages, deal with the mental aspect of playing athletics.
Yeah, I have an organization called Mentally Strong Her. It's geared towards female athletes to help them perform better when in big moments, have more confidence, don't not fold under pressure, deal with performance anxiety, and so they're playing like the athlete they know they can be at their full potential. I find a lot of athletes do amazing in practice, and they get to games, they're like, "Who is that?" And that's what I help female athletes with. Um, I've also released a new academy that I made it very accessible financially so that players don't have to pay a lot of money to work with a mental performance coach. And so it's a community of female athletes who are working together and learning from each other, and me being their coach. And there's a curriculum. So I'm giving them the tools I wish I had. I know if I had certain tools to combat, what I was struggling with, I wouldn't have had that spiral that I had when I played in the WNBA.
Hmm. And that's amazing work that you're doing. And truly, like we've been talking about, that's a massive piece of being an athlete is, understanding why your body's acting the way that it is. And everybody talks about performance on the field, and if you're working out and all that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, like, if your mental health isn't there, the performance on the field isn't going to be what you want ultimately.
Mm.
So if you could give one piece of advice to the next generation of athletes, what would it be? It's a tough question.
Well, I've been asked it before, um, and I would say stop comparing yourself. Athletes do it all the time. Humans, we do it all the time, and social media has made that extremely easy to do. and we look at what so and so's doing, what offer someone's got. When I have athletes that are in that recruiting phase, and it affects self-esteem and self-confidence, and you take the focus off of what you're doing. And so I say, stop comparing yourself and look at your journey and know that your journey is unique. Where God has you is unique, and the mark that you're gonna have on this life, on this world, is going to be unique. So focus on that.
That's amazing. That's great advice. And so next here, the WNBA regular season starting up here in a couple days. I'd assume you're still a big WNBA fan.
Yes, I need to renew my league pass. I keep getting emails to renew.
It's funny. I actually just did that this morning, so I was right there with you. Who is your pick to win Rookie of the Year? Do you have one by chance?
Olivia Miles.
That's two. So before we were actually interviewing Aida Bakhos. She's a Lebanese national basketball player, and she said she had the same pick.
Oh.
So that's two for Olivia.
Okay. Who do you pick?
Who do you think? What's that?
Who do you think is going to win?
Ozzy. I'm a big Ozzy fan.
Did you see the last game? I didn't see the last game. How does she do against Indiana?
Against the Fever?
Yeah.
I think she played well. I only watched the first couple minutes, but I'm pretty sure she played well. But I'm super intrigued by Dallas this year with obviously Paige Beckers, one of the best players in WNBA right now. And so I mean Dallas could be a legit, really talented team this year. I mean, they've got the talent, but they could make a run into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Is there a team that you think could surprise everybody this year in the WNBA?
I think that the Valkyries surprised everybody last year, but I think they made some moves in the off season by getting Gabby Williams, and I feel that she's going to be a big impact player for them. So I look forward to them making some more waves like they did last year.
Yep, I love that because I'm a big Kate Martin fan. So hearing that's awesome. Is there one player in the WNBA right now that you think is close to the style of play that you were once? Like, is there a player that's close to you? If you could pick one player.
No, not because I was that good. It's because I was really I hunted contact. I wanted contact all the time.
Right.
And I had a mid range, but I didn't really. But I prefer to like bump and grind with you. So no, that's a good question. I'm gonna have to look and see if anybody. See, the post game has evolved so much since obviously I was in the league. They're shooting threes. I didn't shoot 1 3 my whole WNBA
really
career. Yes, I think I shot 2 in the ABL, and I think
did you make them
for 2 but I didn't shoot in the WNBA. So,
that's so interesting.
Yeah, it is. I think the player that started shooting the most threes that was maybe the first stretch 4 was Tina Thompson.
Okay. And then do you have a projection on who do you think's going to win the championship this year?
I think the Aces look good, but the Fever was so close last year without
half their team.
Yeah, with all those injuries. I'm curious to see how they look. They picked up some nice pieces in the off season, and so I mean, not that many pieces, but the core is still there. I didn't get a chance to see them play against Dallas, so I don't know how they play. Obviously, they have Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston, the big three. Yeah, but they picked up a nice vet. I can't remember her name. She used to play for the Mystics. She's a champion. She's a WNBA champion. And she's physical, and everybody says she's going to be I'm going to enforce her and protect Caitlin. But that's what the chatter is. So curious how she fits in as well. But I think if they can stay healthy, the Fever are going to make some waves.
Yep. I think a lot of people are saying the same thing of like, hey, if you can keep the starting five throughout the entire season and the postseason, it's going to be a fun year for Fever fans. So if you, I'm putting a lot of pressure on you right now. If you were WNBA commissioner for a day, what would be one change to the WNBA you would make?
I would make it that because they didn't do this in the last CBA, that every team has a mandatory. It's mandatory that every team has a sports psychologist or a mental performance coach, because they do have somebody over the whole NBA and WNBA for mind health, but
Right.
every club, every organization doesn't use one.
I think that's a great answer. And then last one here. Is there a city that doesn't have a WNBA team that you'd want to have a team?
Somewhere in North Dakota. No, I'm just kidding. Let me think. You got the Bear, you got LA, you got Arizona, Philadelphia's coming. I heard Miami is coming. Portland is here. Toronto. Detroit's coming as well.
Yep.
So is Houston. I heard even Cleveland. Dang. Wow. Oh, Charlotte.
Charlotte, love it.
Yep.
Charlotte fans are so passionate about their basketball. So I love that answer. But that is actually all the questions I have for you. I appreciate you taking the time coming on here. I know we had a little bit of technical difficulties, but regardless, it was super fun. And again, I appreciate everything that you're doing for athletes now. You know, it's super important. And just thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Sports Slice. You can find Sports Slice on the TikTok Podcast Network, on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And for more, check out my TikTok, Timbo Slice of Life 12.